Good day, ladies and gentlemen, especially to you, sir. Good morning. I am Ronaldin L. Padero, and I will going to introduce to you our report. Our report was all about categorical imperative and utilitarianism.
Together with my groupmates Justine Halon, Rubilin Dipitilia, and Kizaya Nicole Coming. To start with this discussion, let us start with categorical imperative. What is categorical imperative? The idea of categorical imperatives was first introduced by Immanuel Kant, a philosopher from the 1700s. He is best known for his philosophical works, Critique of Pure Reasons and the Metaphysics of Morals, among others. Kant defines categorical imperatives as commands or moral laws all persons must follow, regardless of their desires or extenuating circumstances. As morals, these imperatives are binding on everyone. One of the Kant's categorical imperatives is the universalizability principle, in which one should act only in accordance with that maxim through which you can at the same time will that it become universal law. In lay terms, this simply means that if you do an action, then everyone else should also be able to do it. So based on my understanding kung unsa ang categorical imperative is kuan, importante ang intention regardless sa consequences. So, buhaton nimo ni siya nga act, not because kay makasatisfy sa imo or mahappy ka, tungod kay mauna siya ang morally right sa tanan. Di ba kay ang categorical imperative is kuan man siya, universal act. So, kung unsa ang act nga normal na to kanang ginabuhat sa tanan, so mean ana morally right na siya even if ang consequences ana kay bad or good, still good gyapon na siya nga act kay morally right man siya sa tanan. So I have here an example of categorical imperative. If you want to be trusted, you should always tell the truth. If you want to become rich, you should steal whenever you can get away with it. Sa naanang example sa categorical imperative is because imperative bilang mga utos o batas sa moralidad ay dapat sundin ng lahat ng tao anuman ang kanilang mga hangarin o nakakapagpalit ng pangyayari. So, mao na siya ang categorical imperative. Categorical imperative, Kant doesn't actually say what actions are morally right or wrong. Instead, he prescribes how an action can be judged using our reason to be morally binding by means of categorical imperative. So, ang categorical imperative, nasa siya golden rule, which is the act towards others as you would want them to act towards you. Muna siya golden rule. So, ang categorical imperative it is derived from practical reason. So, what is practical reason? Practical reason is, it is the use of reasons to decide how to act. Next is, it belongs to the nominal world. And it provides universal moral principles, and so is deontological. It creates duties and rules. So next is ang mga basics nga dapat nato mahibalaan about kay Kant. So una is ang mga approach kuno ni Kant is deontological. This means that for Kant, the right or wrongness of an action is in the action itself and not in its consequences. So muna ang approach ni Kant, ang deontological ay ang approach. So unsa man ang deontological or deontology? Nakasaad diri nga ang isa ka lihok na dili maayo sa moral ay pwede mapaingon sa isang bagay na mabuti parehas sa kanabitang pagpatay nimo sa kawatan. Although mali ang pagpatay, pero imo nang gibuhat para maprotektahan ang imong pamilya, syempre ang imong kaugalingon ug ang mga tao sa imong palibot. So, naa na dayon dira ang giingon ni Kant na ang approach na deontological, na ang pagprotekta sa imong pamilya kay ang right nga imong gibuhat, which is ang pagpatay, although killing is not the good moral na buhaton. So, mao nang deontological approach kay Kant. So next is, si Kant kuno kay isa siya ka rationalist. He believes that the reason is the means by which we can analyze the world. Si Kant kay ang iyang pagtuo sa kinabuhi kay dapat naka-base sa reasons o logic kaysa sa emotion or paniniwala sa relihiyon. Muna ang gitawag si Kant og rationalist. So next is ang formulation sa formula sa categorical imperative og si Coming na ang mag-explain ana sa inyo. Thank you.
So this time we're about to know the four formulation of categorical imperatives. In view of this background, Kant present the single categorical imperative of morality. Act only that maxim by which you can at the same time will that it should become a universal law. Although there is only one categorical imperative, Kant argues that there can four formulations of their principle. So the formula of the law of nature: act as if the maxim of your action were to become through your will a universal law of nature. The formula of the end itself: act in such a way that you always treat humanity, whether in your own person or in a person of any other, never simply as a means, but always at the same time as an end. The formula of autonomy: so act that your will can regard itself at the same time you making universal law through its maxims. The formula of the kingdom of ends: so act as if you were through your maxim a law-making member of a kingdom of ends. According to Kant, each of these three formulations will produce the same conclusion regarding the morality of any particular action. Thus, each of these formulas offer a step-by-step procedure for determining the morality of any particular action. In each case, the action is deemed immoral since the contradiction arises when trying to will the maxim is the law of nature. The formula of the end itself is more straightforward. A given action is more correct if when performing that action we do not use people as a means to achieve some further benefit, but instead treat people as something which is intrinsically valuable. Again, Kant illustrates this principle with the above four examples, and in each case performing the action would involve treating a person as a means and not an end.
Good morning, everyone. My name is Justin Ihalon. I would like to continue our report. To start with, understanding utilitarianism. What is utilitarianism? Utilitarianism comes from the root word utility, which means usefulness. In utilitarianism, morality is centered on the useful actions. Utilitarianism, associated by Jeremy Bentham and John Stuart Mill. Utilitarianism holds that an action is right if it tends to promote happiness and wrong if it tends to produce sadness. The ultimate goal of utilitarianism is to better humanity and create increased levels of happiness with each action.
And here's the example of utilitarianism.
Another example of utilitarianism is that if you are a doctor and you have 5 doses left of medicine that 6 patients need, although one patient, let's call her needy, needs all 5 doses to survive, you would choose the other 5 and let needy die, because it maximizes the happiness 5 people happy instead of just one. So in this example, it shows that utilitarianism holds the happiness of the majority and sacrificing the decreased number of the opposite.
On the next slide are the sample video of the utilitarianism.
A runaway train is heading towards 5 workers on a railway line. There's no way of warning them, but you're standing near a lever that operates some points. Switch the points, and the train goes down a spur. Trouble is, there's another worker on that bit of track too, but it's 1 fatality instead of 5. Should you do that? Many people think the right thing to do would be to switch the points, to sacrifice 1 to save 5, since that produces the best outcome possible. Now imagine the train heading for the workers again. This time it can only be stopped by pushing a very large man off a bridge. His great bulk would stop the train, but he'd die.
The trolley problem highlights a fundamental tension between two schools of moral thought. The utilitarian perspective dictates the most appropriate action is the one that achieves the greatest good for the greatest number. Meanwhile, the deontological perspective asserts that certain actions, like killing an innocent person, are just wrong, even if they have good consequences. In both versions of the trolley problem above, utilitarians say you should sacrifice one to save five, while deontologists say you should not. Okay, that's all for our discussion. Thank you, everyone. Hope you learned something about our report. Thank you. Keep safe, everyone.